Hazrat Payghambar Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and then it stayed on. The light has to come from awakened one. Only then it can stay there. So the body has to attain to awakening. Tantra says your subconscious and unconscious is the virgin. And when this virgin unites with the aware person, the awareness, enlightened one, it becomes the fulfillment. And this is misunderstood. We consider the female as the virgin one, but it is your subconscious and unconscious, these layers, they are virgin, they are untouched. Nobody has explored these as yet. So these has to be explored with the light. So light or the being or the soul enters only when the body is capable of absorbing it. Immature body cannot absorb it. It must have attained a certain amount of maturity, then it will reach there. In order to understand my words, you have to reach to a certain level of, you have to graduate a certain level. When you graduate from standard 1, then you can understand the subject matter of standard 2. You must graduate from standard 1 or form 1, then you can enter into the other realm. Body must have attained the physical maturity, emotional maturity. That's where the 3 aspect comes in: the intelligent quotient, the emotional quotient, and the spiritual quotient. It was in 1904, it was Daniel Goleman who said that intelligence quotient, the capability to handle the complex situation, is known as IQ. But IQ had a problem, a serious problem, because the I was capital. It did not have the dot of meditation over it. So when you put the dot of meditation, it becomes reduced. And that's where intelligence quotient became important. Then it was in 1990, it was discovered that IQ is meaningless without EQ, emotional quotient. Then later on, Diana Johar and Marshall, they worked on IQ plus EQ is equal to SQ, spiritual quotient. The 3 has to merge together in order for the journey to continue. The body has the physical, the intelligence has to be mature enough, and when the intelligence merges with the heart, it becomes a spiritual quotient. Get the answer or not?
Khalid, I understand what you're saying. May I ask the second question?
Sure.
Second question. I believe I understood you to say that love in a relationship is essentially an end or a termination, something to that effect.
What I said, love in a relationship, the love begins with a physical attraction, but it does not go beyond the physical attraction, reaches to another dimension. And as long as it remains the physical dimension, it is in the quicksand. And it becomes very difficult to come out until there is meditativeness. The moment you add the dimension of meditation into love, into your marriage, into your relation, you have added a new dimension. You are going into love making meditatively. it has a totally a different quality. And it is the in the it is said that sex relaxes a person. Why does it relax? It begins with a haphazard breathing, and as the process continues, the breathing becomes rhythmic. And in extreme states, you are not even aware that you are breathing. Are you aware of that? The moment you become aware of that moment, another dimension, the love comes out of the quicksand of negativities, of the physical aspect. Then love will no more be the physical love. It has attained a depth, it has attained another dimension. It is capable of flying now. It is drowning you into the depth. Then your relationship will be of a totally different, you cannot explain that. It is like you have eaten a sweet fruit, you have known its taste, but you cannot explain what it is like. So it is important in love life begins with love, with the physical attraction. But before and then there is no expiry date on the marriage. It's like you have to keep on upgrading the system. If you have your iPhone or any kind of phone, you have to upgrade it. If you do not upgrade it, it crashes. So if love, in your love relationship, physical aspect is important, keep on upgrading the physical aspect. If it is emotional, upgrade it. If you do not, it can crash any moment. A new model comes in, finished. And the manufacturers are continuously making the new models. And that's day and night, incessantly working on bringing the new models. God is also making the new models, and now all the other designers and so creating the new models. So you have to upgrade your model. Physical plane also, emotional plane, wherever, whatever plane you are operating at, you have to upgrade. And the dot of meditation is very important.
There's one question.
Nanak emphasizes there the put on the ash on their forehead of meditation. Let I have a dot over it. You have.
Yes, regarding meditation, the spirit and the light, the soul and the light, a baby born at 2.5 pounds and in an incubator for 5 months being taught to breathe. What is happening in the mind of this child fighting to breathe and to live? What? Fighting to live, just to breathe. And because you said it, the mind isn't fully formed, so it's 2.5 pounds.
No, but what actually happens, according to the Hindu science, the conception of the child, you begin with a prayer, meditativeness, but when this aspect is lacking in the moment of the conception or the relationship, these kind of things do happen over which we do not have any control. Then there is a concept of the children born from two born from the same egg. We call them at Siamese twins. Then the two children born from the same ovum and there are two different combinations. So in that situation, the, if the child is finding it difficult to breathe, it is the doctors who has to take into account that aspect, how it could be possible that, but astrologically it relates to the time, the consciousness the parents were at that moment.
But what is it doing for the child? Is that we were talking about when the point at which the light enters. At what point in that child, if it's
The light or the soul or anything,
happening?
the light or the soul enters when the body is fully mature enough to absorb it. If the body is not ready, the light, it cannot absorb the light. And that's where that part has to be within the womb. Womb is made the place where this process takes place. So doctor create a process of incubation outside the womb to create the similar situation of the womb, so that whatever growth has not taken place in the womb continues to take place. So this is the whole medical science. And the breathing will be a little bit difficult unless the body is fully mature enough. Am I right?
Mm-hmm.
And the moment the body is mature, then the breathing will become normal. For instance, if there is a fear in you, now how does it happen, the conception? It is a mere chance. Every child is conceived in a negative moment. All of a sudden, it comes to know there is no planning about bringing the child into the life. It is a great responsibility of the parents. The time of conception, the state of consciousness when the conception takes place, in the absence of this, when the woman comes to know that I have been conceived, the first reaction is, oh no, not yet, but it has happened. So the first thought, whenever the unknown and unknowable situation comes in our lives, our reaction is no. No is always on the surface. If somebody says, come and give me a hug, no, no ways. And then you think over it, okay, that's all right. There is no harm in giving you that. So this no becomes, because the moment the child was conceived, the first thought that came to the mother's mind is no. So no always remains on the lips of the person after you are born, until the life begins to transform and the other dimension of meditation is added to it. Consciously you can remove, like we do not want to go into an unknown situation. An indecisiveness. Someone asks you, do you want Pepsi or Coke? I'm not sure if I should drink a Pepsi or a Coke. What's the difference between the two? If you are thirsty, Coke will do the same thing or Pepsi will do the same thing. Just observe, are you decisive in that moment? Simple thing, whether to drink Coke or Pepsi, indecisive. So when the complex situation comes, how can we take the decisions? So it is whatever process of growth has not happened in the womb where it has been natural, through the process of incubation, it has to correct that situation, and it has to remain until the body attains the maturity. So it is, the incubators are used